In the last video, I told you there were 7 verb forms. So now let's take a look at them in a little bit more detail. So I made a chart of the 7 verb forms, and now let's fill it in with a couple of example verbs, and I think this will help you get a better sense of what I'm talking about and what I mean when I say verb forms. So let's start with a verb we all know really well, the verb walk. The bare form of the verb walk is walk, and the bare form, that's kind of like the root form, the basic form of the verb. The form you will see if you look up the verb in a dictionary. The infinitive form of walk is to walk. To walk, gotta squeeze in here. The simple form is walk. The simple third person is walks. The preterite form is walked. The past participle is walked. And the present participle is walking. All right. Now that we've done one verb, walk, I think you're beginning to get a sense of what I mean when I talk about the 7 verb forms. So now let's look at another verb, the verb arrive. If the bare form is arrive, can you fill in this chart and make the other 6 forms? Try pausing the video and giving it a shot on a scrap piece of paper. All right, so if the bare form is arrive, the infinitive form would be to arrive. I gotta squeeze it in here. The simple form would be arrive. The simple third person would be arrives. The preterite would be arrived. That's 2 R's there. The past participle would be arrived. And the present participle would be arriving. Now I think the pattern is beginning to become pretty clear. Let's do one more, the verb jump. So if the bare form is jump, can you complete the chart for the other 6 forms? Pause the video and give it a shot. So if the bare form is jump, that would make the infinitive form to jump. There we go. The simple form would be jump. The simple third person would be jumps. The preterite form would be jumped. The past participle would be jumped. And the present participle would be jumping. All right. Now that we have 3 verbs serving as examples, I bet you can see a pattern for how English turns the bare form into the other 6 forms. So right down here in the 4th row, let's write out that pattern. So if the first form here is the bare form, how do you turn the bare form into the infinitive form? Well, if it follows the pattern, the infinitive form is just to plus the bare form. The simple form, well, the simple form is exactly the same as the bare form. The simple third person is the bare form plus s. Sometimes it's es, but that's the general pattern. Bare plus s gives you the simple third person. The preterite form is the bare form plus ed. The past participle is the same. It's the bare form plus ed. And the present participle is the bare form plus ing. There we have bare plus ing. little bit sloppy. Now, if you look at this chart and think, you might have a few questions. There are, in fact, 3 questions that my students commonly ask me at this point in the lesson. Why don't you pause the video and try to think of what these 3 questions might be. Look at this chart and see if, while you are studying it, anything seems strange or you sort of have a question about something. So, 3 questions that my students will often ask me at this point. The first question they ask is, don't some verbs break this rule? That is, aren't there some verbs that don't follow this pattern that we've written down here in red? The second question that my students ask often comes when they look very closely at the preterite form and the past participle form. And my students will notice that they are the same. It's just the bare form plus ed. And so that naturally sort of begs the question of, if the preterite form is exactly the same as the past participle form, why do we have 2 forms? Why don't we just put them together? The second question is, what is the difference between the preterite form and the past participle? Why do grammar teachers and linguists consider English to have 2 different forms here? And, of course, if you study the chart, you can sort of ask the same question about the bare form and the simple form. Walk, walk, arrive, arrive, jump, jump. The simple form is exactly the same as the bare form. So, in a similar vein, what's the difference between the bare form and the simple form? Why aren't they just one form? Why do we even have a simple form? Why not just put it together with the bare form? And these are the 3 questions that I often get asked by my students if they're paying close attention at this point in the lecture. They are, don't some verbs break this rule right here? What's the difference between preterite and past participle? And what's the difference between the bare and simple form? These 3 are really excellent questions. And I think you should take some time and try to think about them for yourself, because in answering these questions, we learn something a little bit deeper about English grammar. So look at these 3 questions, try to figure out if you can come up with the answer yourself, and then in the next video, we will answer them together. All right, I'll see you in the next video.